It's the offseason. Free agency and signings are fun and all, but offseason also means blockbuster trades. Here are some of the biggest trades that you could see in the 2022-2023 offseason. And if you're a diehard baseball fan like myself, make sure to hit that subscribe button as there will be tons of baseball content as we continue into this offseason. Starting off though, the biggest pitcher on the trade market, Corbin Burnes, Milwaukee Brewers. He lands with the New York Mets. The Mets are most likely losing Jacob deGrom, and Taijuan Walker and Chris Bassett are also currently free agents. They're going to need a new ace, and the Brewers are showing they aren't willing to pay most of their players, especially both Woodruff and Burnes. One will most likely be gone this offseason. A trade headlined by the number one prospect in baseball, catcher Francisco Alvarez, would be where the trade conversation starts here. This one probably isn't going to happen, but there have been rumors, so of course you have to mention a name as big as Shohei Ohtani. My prediction is he stays with the Angels, but if he doesn't, he lands with the Toronto Blue Jays. Angels have done a lot of stuff wrong with Mike Trout, but trading Ohtani would top all of it. What would even top that would be letting Ohtani walk for nothing next offseason. If an extension can't be done, then a trade might be what they have to do. All 29 teams will want him, but we'll go with Toronto with all the young talent they can provide in a trade. If that's headlined by shortstop Bo Bichette, catcher Gabriel Morano, or another MLB-ready player, I'd say a 95% chance he stays with the Angels, extension or no extension. Catcher Sean Murphy from the Athletics, Minnesota Twins. Gary Sanchez didn't work out, and Ryan Jeffers is not an everyday catcher. Sean Murphy is the number one player this offseason that I'd bet the house on that he's getting traded. Minnesota has made some great moves over the past year. Correa, Gray, and extended Buxton. They are in desperate need of a catcher, and Murphy is the top one on the trade market. Murphy is under contract for 3 years, so he won't be super cheap. Athletics are looking for young, cheap guys. Alex Kirilloff, who was a top prospect 2 years ago but has struggled since, and their current top prospect, 8th overall pick in this year's draft, Brooks Lee, would be a lot, but they'll have to outbid a lot of other teams. Royals catcher, Salvador Perez, St. Louis Cardinals. St. Louis just lost their soon-to-be Hall of Famer, Molina. There's plenty of other routes they can go here, but they go from one great to another is one of them. Kansas City did extend him until 2027 with a club option for 2026. He's making more than the Cardinals would like to pay, so the Royals would have to attach some cash to this trade, which would help them get more back. It's all going to depend on how much of Perez's contract the Royals end up paying before we can talk about what they get back in trade. Marlins pitcher, Pablo Lopez, the Yankees. This trade nearly happened at the deadline. According to Ken Rosenthal, the Marlins offered Pablo Lopez and Miguel Rojas for Gleyber Torres and Oswaldo Cabrera, but the Yankees thought it was too steep of a price to pay. That doesn't mean that exact trade has to go down, but the Yankees will be shopping Gleyber this offseason, and Cabrera is tradable, with Volpe most likely being MLB ready for opening day. Regardless, the Yankees want to get this trade done. Cubs outfielder, Ian Happ. The Los Angeles Dodgers. Surprisingly, the Cubs didn't trade Happ at the deadline, but they'll have another chance this offseason. Although all signs point to the Cubs wanting to contend again in 2023, they may decide to hold on to him. Christopher Morel and Seiya Suzuki can handle the other two outfield spots, and they can look elsewhere in trades or free agency to replace Happ. Trace Thompson was nice for the Dodgers last year, but Happ is a more proven player in this league. The Dodgers have all the talent in the world to get any deal they'd like done. Andy Pages, Michael Busch, or Miguel Vargas could headline this deal. Although there's no more baseball until spring training, unfortunately, that doesn't mean you still can't get tickets to anything you want to see in person. Football, basketball, hockey, concerts, or nearly anything requires a ticket. Just go to SeatGeek, enter promo code Brewpack, exactly where our channel name is spelled, and get yourselves $20 off your purchase. Pirates outfielder, Bryan Reynolds, the Marlins. Pittsburgh has been hesitant to trade Reynolds, even with him being in countless trade rumors over the past couple of years. Miami has the pitching staff to win from rotation to bullpen, but the offense really held them back last season. Reynolds is in no way going to be cheap for the Marlins. Pittsburgh will probably ask for the number 9 prospect, Yuri Perez, and with all the great young pitchers Miami already has, this is a trade they can afford to do. Red Sox third baseman Rafeal Devers, the San Francisco Giants. Evan Longoria was recently non-tendered by the Giants after an okay season. Boston and Devers are far off on extension talks, and with 1 year left on his current contract, it makes him a perfect trade candidate. San Francisco definitely won't want to give him up, but Marco Luciano is who the Red Sox will ask back for in a trade. Red Sox need a new shortstop, assuming Xander doesn't re-sign, and I don't see this deal being made without Luciano in it. Yankees third baseman, Josh Donaldson, the Texas Rangers. Donaldson, the Yankees desperately need a breakup. Texas already has their long-term middle infield and possibly their first baseman. Josh Young is a feature at third base, but on days off he needs, Donaldson can fill in there and be their DH other days. No one wants to pay Donaldson $21 million next season. But if the Rangers, who have shown they're willing to spend, take on all of his contract, then they could get him without giving up any sort of prospect. Royals outfielder, Michael A. Taylor, the Chicago Cubs. Taylor won't replace Happ's production, and he might not even start, but he's an elite defender who could be a late inning replacement and a fourth outfielder type player. This is the Royals' best trade piece, and they still won't be in playoff contender next season, so might as well get what they can for him. Kansas City isn't laying a top 10 Cubs prospect, but they can still do their talks from there. Rockies first baseman, CJ Cron, the Cleveland Guardians. Surprisingly, the Rockies extended Cron instead of trading him, but because of this, they'll have another chance to trade him with 1 year left on his contract. Cron's home away splits are concerned for teams interested in him, but he's still a player they'd be willing to take a chance on. Josh Naylor and CJ Cron can flip back and forth between DH and first base. With below average numbers outside of Coors and 1 year left, Cron shouldn't be too expensive, but the Guardians will have to outbid other teams. Aaron Savali and Zach Plesac have both been in plenty of trade talks. One of them could go to Colorado since they always need arms. But with them having team control and Cron not, Cleveland could want someone else back in this trade. Yankees shortstop, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Cincinnati Reds. I don't know if it's safe for IKF to be the Yankees starting shortstop in 2023 for his own physical and mental sake. Cincinnati still needs a major league shortstop. Elly De La Cruz and Noel V. Marte could both find their way to the majors in 2023. Elly can play third, and Marte will probably take a little longer to be in the majors. IKF obviously isn't a great shortstop, but he can still hit singles and simply fill in until it's time for your young guys to take over. This trade may not even cost the Reds a top 30 prospect. Mariners outfielder, Jesse Winker, the Boston Red Sox. Some team is going to look very smart buying low on Winker this offseason, although every team should be in on him. I'm still not sure exactly what Boston's looking to do in the 2023 season. Letting Bogarts walk and possibly trading Devers makes it look like they'll take a step back. But adding Winker to an already thin outfield could at the very least give them a great trade piece at next year's deadline. Or maybe they surprise us and are actually in contention. Seattle's looking for a short-term second baseman in 2023. With no big second base prospects, they could look for Boston's 2020 first-rounder, Nick York. Cardinals shortstop, Paul DeJong, Boston Red Sox. Another one for Boston. They lose Bogarts in free agency and don't replace him with one of the big four free agent shortstops. Instead, they make a trade with the Cardinals, who are looking to move on from DeJong after a disappointing season. He's been so bad the past 3 seasons that he won't cost Boston much of anything to trade for. Blue Jays catcher, Danny Jansen, Milwaukee Brewers. Omar Narvaez is a free agent, and Victor Caratini isn't good enough to be the everyday guy. Mario Feliciano could fill in, but if the Brewers are serious about contending like they say they are, then the answer behind the plate is not internal. Sean Murphy or Danny Jansen are the Brewers' 2 answers via the trade market. Toronto has 3 catchers who are capable of starting. Top prospect Gabriel Moreno and Alejandro Kirk are the other 2. One of these guys will be traded, and it will most likely be Danny Jansen. He's coming off an insane season with a .516 slugging, but a small sample size of only 72 games. 2020 first-rounder Tyler Black could headline the package sent back to Toronto. Yankees second baseman Gleyber Torres, the Chicago White Sox. As we mentioned, Torres could be in the package deal to go along with the Marlins and Pablo Lopez. But if not, then the South Side is in very desperate need of a second baseman. They had some of the worst production from second base in the entire league last season. Gene Segura is most likely their main target in free agency, but if they miss out on him, then they'll have 2 options via the trade market. I'll project Gleyber to land in Chicago. Torres hasn't lived up to his expectations, especially after his electric start to his career. But other teams could see him as one of their missing pieces. Torres has 2 years left and is still an above-average hitter overall, so he won't be extremely cheap, although he won't cost a team their top prospect. Yankees are also looking for major league talent, not guys 3 years away from the majors. Currently, the Yankees don't have an answer at third base. Could a change of scenery for the former number 1 overall prospect, Yoan Moncada, make sense? He wouldn't be the only one in the deal, but him being in the deal, being sent to the Yankees, makes sense for both sides. And the last one on my list is Milwaukee Brewers second baseman Colton Wong, the Seattle Mariners. Wong is the other option for the White Sox if they don't get Torres, but rumors have the Mariners very interested in Colton Wong. The Brewers recently just accepted his $10 million club option, but with Bryce Drain MLB ready, they may look to still trade him, especially with how they continue to show they don't want to spend money on their current guys. The Brewers do still need some starting pitching depth, and Seattle has currently shopped Chris Flexen. Him and another low-tier prospect like Isaiah Campbell, who's MLB ready, could get this deal done. Those are the biggest names that I could see being traded this offseason. Does not mean it's a guarantee by any means, just means they have a decent chance to be on a different team by the time 2023 spring training starts. But you guys let me know your predictions. Who are the biggest names that's going to be traded and where will they end up? You guys let me know down in the comments below. But if you guys did enjoy, please leave a like. You guys have an absolute beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video. See ya! Shout out to everyone on here. If you want to see your name on here, link is down in the description.